Assalamualaikum and good day. In this video, we're going to learn inheritance concept in object-oriented programming. Let's get started. First of all, what is inheritance? Object-oriented language have feature called inheritance. Inheritance enables you to define new classes based upon an existing class. The new classes are similar to the existing class but have additional member variables and methods. This makes programming easier because you can build upon an existing class instead of starting out from scratch. Inheritance is responsible for the enormous success of modern software. Programmers are able to build upon previous work and to continuously improve and upgrade existing software. For example, graphical user interface programming is done by using inheritance with the basic graphical classes contained in a standard library. You select the basic classes you need for a particular application. Inheritance automatically gives you most of what you need. All you need to do is add the details for your application. Next, let's look at single inheritance. So the class that is used to define a new class is called a parent class. The class based on the parent class is called a child class. So in Java, children inherit characteristics from just one parent. This is called single inheritance. Some languages allow a child to inherit from more than one parent. This is called multiple inheritance. With multiple inheritance, it is sometimes hard to tell which parent contributed what characteristic to the child. So Java avoids this problem by using only single inheritance. There are three sets of phrases for describing inheritance relationship, that is parent, child, superclass, subclass, base class, derived class. So most programmers use all the three sets interchangeably. Next, let's look at is-a relationship. So the picture shows a parent class and a child class. The line between them shows the is-a relationship. The arrow points to the parent class from the child class. So the picture can be read as a Ford is a automobile. The phrase is-a is in common use in computer science. The arrow between a child and parent is sometimes called is-a link. The cloud represents classes. This picture does not show objects. Inheritance is between classes, not between objects. A parent class is a blueprint that is followed when an object is constructed. A child class of the parent is another blueprint that looks like much the original but with added features. The child class is used to construct objects that look like the parent object, but with added feature. Now let's look at object. The picture shows a parent class and a child class that have been constructed from each. These objects are shown as a rectangle, which to convey the idea that they are more real than the classes, which are only designed. So in this picture, you have Joe's car, Mary's Ford, Bob's Ford represent the actual object. The cloud classes represent design, not actual object. Objects are constructed as a program runs. An object is constructed by following a description in a class file that was created by compiling a Java source program. Next, let's look at hierarchies. The picture shows a hierarchy of classes. It shows that Ford is an automobile, Nissan is an automobile, and that Volkswagen also is an automobile. It also shows that Sentra is a Nissan. In a hierarchy, each class has at most one parent, but might have several children classes. The class at the top of the hierarchy has no parent. This class is called the root of the hierarchy. Next, let's look at extends keyword. So in order for you to use inheritance, so the syntax for deriving a child class from a parent class is class child class extends parent class. So in the curly bracket, you need to have the things that you want to do in the class. So this is another example. Class movie extends video. So here you have your data members declaration, and also you have a constructor for movie class. Alright, let's move on to a simple example of inheritance. We can effectively model similar but different type of objects using inheritance. So suppose we want to model dogs and cats. They are different types of pets. We can define the pet class as a parent and dog and cat as the subclasses of the pet class. So this is the definition of pet class. So you can see the declaration class pet, and then you have one data members. So you declare as a private data members, and then you have getter and setter. And you also have one processor method, which is speak. Next, let's look at subclasses of the pet class. So the first class is cat, extends pet, and then it does have one method speak, which will override the method speak in parent class. Next, let's look at class dog, extends pet, and it adds a new method fetch in the class dog. Now let's look how to use the subclasses. So basically you need to declare object first. So I declare my dog from dog class, and then by display the results of the method, so calling the object and call the method speak, and it will have this output, I'm your cuddle little pet. And then this dog object will call fetch method, which only have in the dog class, so it will display the result, yes master, fetch I will. Alright, for cat class, I declare my cat from the cat subclasses, and then I call speak. Okay, so this is the results from the speak under cat class, don't give me orders. And then after that, I use the same object to call fetch. This display an error because in cat class we do not have any fetch method, and then so it will fail to find out the fetch method. Alright, let's move next to inheritance and member accessibility. Public data members and methods are accessible to everyone. Private data members and methods are accessible only to instances of the class, whereas protected data members accessible only to methods that belong to the same class or to the subclass. So normally in inheritance, we always use protected in order for us to use the parent data members or the child data members. So everything except the private members of the superclass is accessible from a method of the subclass object, even constructor. So constructors are not inherited by its subclasses. So this is the visual representation of inheritance to illustrate data member accessibility. So basically you can see the public, protected, and private. So this is within a class hierarchy. So if you create object, so you can only access the one that inherited components of the superclass are part of the subclass instead. So the effect of the three visibility modifier. So basically, public you can access, but protected and private you cannot access. So this is in package 1. For package 2, you also can only access public, but not the public and protected. So everything except the private members of the superclass is visible from a method of subclass. So from a method of sub, you need to you can access the private members of its superclass only. Alright, let's move on to super keyword. So unlike members of a superclass, constructor of a superclass are not inherited by its subclasses. Therefore, you must define a constructor for a class or use the default constructor added by the compiler. So the keyword that you need to use to call the superclass constructor is super. So the super will call the superclass constructor, and also it will also be used to call a superclass method. So if the class declaration does not explicitly design the superclass with the extend clause, then the class superclass is the object class. Now let's look at an example how to use super keyword by accessing superclass members. So this example have superclass as the parent, subclass extend superclass. So subclass here is a child class. So in superclass you have print method, and then in subclass you also have an overriding method named print method. So by declaring super here, super.print method, so this syntax actually will call the print method inside the superclass. So it will access superclass print method. Right, let's look another one about subclass constructor. So let's say you have a bicycle class which is a parent, and then you have mountain bike as the child class. So in both class you need to have constructor, but in order for you to access superclass constructor you need to declare super. So by saying super here and sending all the parameters for that particular constructor in the bicycle class, so you need to have super in a bracket and 3 parameters, because if you look at this constructor, the bicycle constructor, you have also 3 parameters. Next, let's say you have no argument constructor for bicycle class, and then in mountain bike you should only write like this. So the syntax will be only super without any parameter. So this is how you use super as a keyword to call superclass constructor. Alright, I think that's all for now. Please read chapter 1 in the near future. Thank you.